Hello, everybody. You're welcome. Today, we are going to be looking at different generations. Of course, I'm your host for today. My name is Martins Eze. And today, we are going to be looking at different generations and the uniqueness of those generations. What made them tick. And then again, we will be looking more at the Gen Zs and the millennials, because in our society today, the activities of the Gen Zs are more, in focus. And so, but with me to discuss this topic, I have quite brilliant set of people in the studio today, and we are going to be starting with you. Tell me or tell us, who are you?
I'm Faye Vibes, and it's all about the vibes for me. So I'm actually known as Faye Vibes.
Oh, yeah, Faye Vibes. If
Yeah.
you don't know her, go on her social media, just type Faye
Yeah.
Vibes. You will see, whether on Facebook or on TikTok or
Yeah.
Faye Vibes.
It's
And
all
then
about the vibes.
you will see quite a number of vibes.
Of course.
Then with me here is
Ariel Chooks.
Ariel Chooks. That's my man. The philosopher in the house. The psychologist in the house. Yeah, it's good to have you in the house. And then we have Frank. Tell us.
It's all about being frank.
Yeah, being frank. I like that.
blunt.
And he's quite frank.
Of course.
When you look at Frank, you know he's a straightforward guy. He gives it to you
Back to back.
That's the way it is.
It's all about the energy.
Okay, so we are going to start with you, Faye Vibes. Tell us, like I said, we will be looking at Gen Z. We'll be having our focus on Gen Z as we talk about other generations.
Yeah.
So Gen Z, who are the Gen Zs? What do you know about Gen Zs?
Okay, well, Gen Z, for me personally, I feel like these people are sets of people who were born from the year 1996 to 2010, 11, 12 years put together. So these sets of people are actually currently in this year in their youthful stage. They are actually at the point in their life where they are just testing the waters. They're trying to see what works. They're trying to see what they can adapt to, testing their level of what they can take, what they can tolerate, and testing to see what they can achieve. And because of social media, these people are seen all over. So it seems as though Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z everywhere. But if there was social media in the millennial time when the millennials were in their prime, of course, it could be millennials everywhere. So I don't really see Gen Z as some sort of bad thing. They're actually in their time, so they're actually enjoying themselves.
Well, it looks like today, everything negative, you will see Gen Zs.
That's what you think.
Oh, that's what I think.
That's what you think. Because a lot of things right now, a lot of things are noticed because of Gen Z. People are speaking up now because Gen Z are speaking up. Yes. When you have things to talk about, who talks about them? Gen Z. How many boomers talk now? How many millennials have the courage to talk? Of course, sometimes Gen Z can talk out of point, but at least they are talking.
But of course, these people are barely informed.
Says who?
Whoa. From the actions, you could tell that they are not informed.
No, they are actually. It depends on the level of information that you think they don't have. They actually do have information. So what information are you talking about?
Wow. This is interesting. I will come back to you. Let's hear your perspective to the activities of these Gen Zs. You've had Faye Vibes talk about Gen Zs. Do you actually agree? Is there anything that we need to be concerned about this group of people called Gen Zs?
All right, thank you. Yes, there are a lot of things to be concerned about when it comes to the activities of the Gen Zs,
Okay.
because their actions are intensified and not moderated.
Oh.
And it's because of, yeah, I am for free speech. But then when you are properly informed, then free speech in itself is
Will
now
not be free.
it's now what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
But I think the free speech of the Gen Zs is destructive because it's not moderated and it's not well guided. So they're actually speaking from a point of, I need to act on a certain trigger that I'm feeling inside. So something, how do I push it out there so that 1 or 2 persons will acknowledge that's very feeling. Once 1 or 2 persons acknowledges, then they think it's okay, it's right.
And on the social media now, anything you say, you will see people that will acknowledge.
Exactly. Now, let me give an example. Every human being at any time craves for something, wants to express itself, wants what it wants, whenever it wants it. But how we got to where we are and know what we need and what we don't need is because of moderation. For example, as a parent, children likes ice cream and sweets. So a child wake up every morning and asks daddy to buy me ice cream. Every day the child wants to lick ice cream. But as a parent, you know that if you keep giving that child ice cream every day, it's not healthy for the child, for the child's overall well-being.
Yeah.
Same thing is with the information that the Gen Zs are gulping, right? Every day they're taking in informations that are junk. So in the long run, it doesn't serve the need of the society. It only serves the present emotional need at the time. As long as it's acknowledged, then it's fine. Then in the long run, it doesn't solve any problem. It actually creates a problem. Right? So I think that the Gen Zs, they have the voice. They need to properly deliver this voice objectively. The Gen Zs need to start now to speak for the next generation to come. Else, they're creating so much problems for generations to come. Like the Arabian prince will say, I have Lamborghini. My kids will drive a camel. Will ride on camels again. And I asked how. He said because strong men built hard times made strong men. And strong men, they built the good times that we have. The good times makes weak men. And weak men create hard times.
So the Gen Zs are now the weak people.
Creating the hard times.
Creating the hard times
hard
coming.
time. Yeah.
But I beg to differ because the emergence of technology has made it a bit more easy for people to create things. And so even with the weak people, operating the technologies is making the world even better.
What does a weak man create?
Now, a weak man behind some kind of technologically advanced equipment.
That's damage. Because whatever he does is acted upon from his weakness.
Okay, we'll come back to that. What do you think, Mr. Frank, about this Gen Z, the activities of the Gen Z and how it affects our society today?
Well, just like what I said earlier, it's all about being frank. Well, when it comes to the Z, I believe, is the last letter in the alphabetical order.
Yeah.
Good. So what could come, what do you expect from the Zs? The bottom line is just that these are a bunch of people. I beg your pardon, bunch of lazy people in quotes. that would always want to. You don't try to find another way around something you know is exact. Say that I am lazy, but you don't come out to start telling me it's when I want to go and do this thing. That's when I want to go and do them. The few ones I've encountered is they are just nothing to write home about. Sorry about that, but with what we have now, just like I said earlier, the Z, what is yet to come, is no longer pregnant. It has given birth. It's growing. By the time our generation phases off, they will now understand the word Z very well. Thank you very much.
Whoa, this is a hard nut to crack. The Z's, the last alphabet, and what is to come after them is what we don't know.
Well, it's already here. It's called Generation Alpha.
Oh, we
Yes,
have the alpha
it's already
now.
here. It's Gen Alpha. So after Gen Z, we have Gen Alpha. So I beg to differ in some ways with what you're saying. I feel like Gen Z, they kind of being a millennial, we believe in hard work leads to enjoyment. But Gen Z believe in I would use the word smart work leads to enjoyment. So instead of going 9 years in some kind of 9 to 5, and at the end of the day, I get my salary increased probably 2 times with a meager salary increase of 10%, 20%, and creating something for myself, smart work, content creating, do something else and enjoy myself for the rest of, out of that 9 years, I do it for 2 years and I enjoy myself for the rest. So why work all those 9 years and don't still get to enjoy yourself, you know? So another thing, yes, I feel smart work.
The Gen Zs are all about smart work
Yes.
and soft life.
Well, soft life comes with smart work, of course.
Wow. This is interesting. This is an aspect. It is an aspect. Ariel, do you believe that the smart work and soft life is the best way to go about achieving a better society?
In a part, yes. In another part, no. Because the smart work, what gave room to the environment that enables smart work is from a hard work, right? And she like the Gen Zs, they are utilizing the what they have accessible to them now has been built by men that worked hard. So it's making their life easy. So it's giving room to a smart work. Now, I believe in smart work, save time, cut time for something that will take you years. If you can narrow it down to few more years or months and get the job done, then I am for that. But what are you trying to create in a short time? If you're talking about content creation, what content are you creating? Because the quality of the next generation coming is determined by the quality of the psyche of the existing generation, what they give out.
Yes.
So if the content in their mind is not substantial enough, is inferior, if of low quality, then we have a low quality generation to come. So whatever way you are doing a smart work, as long as it empowers the mind to do much greater valuable things, then no problem.
But in their case, it looks as if there is.
Yeah, so they are looking for what appeals to the emotions, feelings. And feelings is what, like in content creation of views, feelings. Oh, I'm interested. Oh, I like that. Okay. Does it appeal to my feeling? Okay, then I view it. So, but in a short time, you look for more things to look at. You look for more things to look at. You look for more things to look at. You are looking for something that appeals to your insatiable emotional needs. Right? Now, while I just came back from a travel, so while I was when I stopped by at a place to do some things on my system, so I saw a young boy, a Gen Z boy. So he was with his phone. He was going through reels, short clips.
Mm.
And trust me, he sat down for hours looking at things that's not adding value to his life. It only appeals to his emotions. Now, you know that when I sit down to watch something to train my skills, train myself in the skills, or do a research, it's not sweet.
That's true.
I'm watching a 20 minutes long video to empower my psyche is not a sweet thing. Then that's where my discipline and consistency is checked. And how I moderate my emotional needs at a time.
Mm.
But a Gen Z, as long as it doesn't appeal to the emotion from the start, they're not going to watch that.
Mm.
So what do they look at that they are storing in their psyche?
And I think that is the reason when you look at some of the contents that they are creating out there,
Yeah.
you'll find out that it's more about erotic things, things that are shallow. And so the society cannot be built that way when everybody is just looking at things that, and because they want to belong, everybody is struggling on the social media to
Yes.
to be seen, to be relevant, and then to have a voice. And then because they want people to look at them and they know that what appeals to the majority of the Gen Zs is things that appeal to their feelings, they are creating contents that appeal to the feelings.
Yes.
And those contents that appeal to the feelings can never be things that have high moral base. And so that is why we are seeing the kind of things that we are seeing on the internet. You see people who, they show their body parts at every little opportunity just because they need your attention and they need to appeal to your feelings so that you can like their videos, you can share the videos, you can watch the videos, and then they are gaining views. And technology has made it in such a way that this is the way you make money out of the social media. And so everybody is there in the social media space doing same thing and then confusing themselves and corrupting themselves and then giving us a society that has nothing to show for, nothing to write home about. Now, if we are to categorize this, the Gen Zs in gender, in sex, how would you, Mr. Frank, how would you categorize them? What would you think the males and the females, what drives them?
Well, when it comes to that, what more can I say? It's all about what we have in the media, the social media. I beg to say this. I can remember that those of us, the millennials, and the way we grew up, our parents were more strict on us than those of the younger ones. The elderly ones, they were more strict and harsh on them. But what do we have today? Our parents will no longer lift a stick or even raise their voice on those their last ones, especially those that falls within the word, the Gen Z. Then when they now come into the society, they see it as that particular thing they are doing it's good. I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think since my parents didn't have any issue with it, who are you to tell me what to do and what not to do then?
So we are now bringing in the Generation X, because what we are looking at today is the parents of the Gen Zs fall within the Generation X. If you are to look at it, it's the people between the 70s, the 65s, and the 70s, the Generation X, that gave birth to the Gen Zs that we are looking at today. Are you now saying that part of the problems that we are facing today with the characters of this Generation Z people, the Gen Zs, are as a result of bad parenting?
No, I wouldn't really give it 100%, but I would give it a 50-50 chance. I would say this. There are some of us that grew under a very strong tutelage of our parents. Combination of an army personnel and then a teacher. You get what you need with
An
these two
army
combination.
personnel and the teacher.
With these
What
two
a
combination,
combination.
you know what is going to come out of it. But in the latter on, I started seeing people that when you see their child misbehave, and because of how close you are, you try to draw the mother. Marcio, see what this guy or this lady did. The woman will turn and look at you. The way she would scold you, you say to yourself, you look at yourself, are you sure I'm not wearing the back of this clothes? The way she's going to scold you. And with that, you already know what they are bringing up. You already know what they've given birth to. You cannot tell somebody, a Gen Z, do this thing, and the person is going to do it at that time you told the person to do it. He would always find a way to always tell you, why don't you, it's not blocking you now, leave it later. But you know that the particular thing is an eyesore. So why not do that? And that's why I use the word bunch of lazy generation that are calling themselves Gen Z. I have out of how many that I've met now, I cannot even lay my hand on one that I will say, yes, this person doesn't behave like them. Their speeches, they're all over the internet. Go there and you see the kind of rubbish they vomit. Then what do? Even when you try to draw them to say, this is not actually good, the way the person will wash you, the things that will come out of the person's mouth, you wish you never even had an encounter with the person. So is this what we are going to have in the next generation? That's a big question, a very hard knot to
I
crack.
think the next generation, you call them Generation Alpha, because the next generation are going to be children of the millennials. And where we are going to have a lot more problem is the generation that will come after the Generation Alpha, who will be the children of the Gen Zs. Now, with what is going on in the society today, with the level of madness in their reasoning, you could tell the kind of parents that they will make to those children that are going to come after the Generation Alpha.
Well, considering what you're saying, I think there will be a ripple effect because already Gen Z are very opinionated. They believe they want to be heard, just like Ariel said. They might not be saying the right things, but they believe they are doing something good. And just like you said, the next generation, the Generation Alpha, is already being influenced by these Gen Zs. So it's a lot of work for the millennial parents to try to get these children back to culture. Because I think all we are running around in circles and talking about is that they've gone out of culture. They've forgotten their roots. I think that is just what we're trying to say.
That's true.
And then again, you would also know that some of the reasons they are behaving like this is because of a good number of them. It's what they saw their parents go through, the experiences they felt their parents went through, the experiences they felt their relations or whoever they might have known growing up had gone through. So they'll feel like, okay, I think the best thing to do is to go this route. And this is on tested water. So whatever is going on there is now being amplified because of the social media. Do you get? Because you wouldn't talk about having, of course, there has been cults. If we should go there, there has been cults and it never stopped. But it was not amplified because of social media. And the mainstream media, of course, could be manipulated before now. But right now, Gen Z try as much as possible to bring things as it is. It could be too raw, especially for Generation Alpha. It could be too raw for them. But they are, to an extent, exposing what they know as truth. You know, coming to protests, they are right there and they are video streaming whatever it is that is happening. You know, then coming to, for example, working for a long years for long years and end up with nothing. Of course, coming from my state, we have something that we call Iba boy for young men. Yes, it's called that. So young men go through that, and it's not sweet. Just like he said, watching videos for a long time to get your skill sharpened, it's not sweet. Discipline is not sweet. Hard work is not sweet. They go through that, and most times it actually has brought in a lot of good results. They go up there and they do well for themselves. But there has also been some kind of bad news linked to those kind of work. And you see these people because they feel like, I deserve soft life. I don't want to suffer. They are men. I want to engage my girlfriend somewhere. I want in eco hotels. I want to lodge in a hotel for days, months. I want to enjoy that large life. And for the women, of course, I want iPhone, the newest iPhone 15 Pro Max. I want to wear diamond rings. I want to do all this without going through some level of suffering. That's notwithstanding, there are some of them who actually put in the work. There are actually a
Well,
few
that
of
would be
them.
very, very few.
Exactly. Because there are also few millennials that are not on the good race per se. Of course. So it's just that the reason is as though Gen Z everywhere is because social media is just an amplifier of whatever it is that is going on. That's just what's happening. And it will not.
They are
it-
within their prime.
exactly.
That juvenile exuberance, that that exuberance, youthful exuberance,
It's coming out.
is coming
It's,
out.
there has to
and
be an
because,
outburst.
yes, and because there is social media, it's now looking as if it is the generation
Exactly. Exactly.
but-
You will
but-
not tell me that, okay, if we want to talk about some kind of life, there has been clubs. There are strippers in clubs. And it didn't start with Gen Z. Did it? It didn't. But now, and of course, over the time, people started trying to get used to stupid works and get used to bragging about whatever it is they do because it puts food on their table. Yes, that is wrong. But then again, who taught them? Because we are quick to judge them. Who taught them? Just like he said, our parents were quite harsh on the millennials, quite strict because they are the first ones, but they get a bit lazy or they get a bit more pampering to the lesser ones, to the younger ones, not less, to those younger ones. And they feel like they have the rights because daddy didn't stop me. So who are you?
Very correct. And Mr. Ariel, you just had what Vivid said about what she thinks that informs the attitude of this Gen Zs. And I think she said something about the social media amplifying their voice. And because the social media was not there during the time that the millennials were at their prime, people didn't hear their part of outbursts. It wasn't everywhere because there was no social media to take it everywhere. It was just the mainstream media who didn't have the time to be airing the behavioral attitude of the millennials. What do you think about that? Do you think she's what she said is 100% correct about them?
Yeah, she made a lot of points in regards to that. And when we look at the power of social media justifies anything, good or bad. Yeah. So what is marketable? And that's what flies. Now, people are buying what is marketable. Okay, so what is the trending thing at a given time? Why is it even trending?
Hmm.
And that's another question.
Trends.
Yeah. So that everything's about trend. So why is it trending? What's the root core of that trend? Now, he was saying something. I wanted to talk about something he said.
Okay.
Like, back to what she said about the parenting and how parents have lost the grip over their children. I wouldn't say entirely that parents consciously or wanted to do that. I think they have been programmed to lose that grip because of woke culture.
Yeah, I wanted to bring in the work culture.
Yeah,
The
well,
work culture.
because if you leave Africa in its conservative way of life, this things would even be a topic.
That's true.
Yes, because Africans believe in preserving their identity, regardless of what it's going to cost. That's what Africans were known for. So, but the woke culture stripped them of that environment to have a grip over that. Now, what is the woke culture? The woke culture is that people can actually be who they want to be as long as it doesn't affect anyone.
Mm. But you know, there is nothing freedom. There is no freedom that
So that's
affects the next person.
that's the delusional perspective of that mindset, because there is nothing that you do that does not have an effect on anyone, either directly or indirectly.
That's
But
true.
people will say as long as it's not direct, so they're mechanical about their work culture, how they express their work culture, they're mechanical about it. As long as it doesn't affect you directly, so you don't care. So now this work culture and how it's damaging the root core of how we uphold our identity is causing this decay, and everything is like is from a processed point of view, or process expression. Now, for example, when I was growing up in the streets, that's why I say Africans preserving their identity.
Mm.
This Obasagi consignee mindset from the work culture is what is destroying us.
That's true.
Now, why do I say so? When I'm walking down the street and I'm going to school, when I was a child, going to school, then I stop by and I'm childlike curiosity. Then I'm looking at the snail walking on the wall. That's not the time to look at a snail walking on the wall, right? If you see a man or a woman that's not my parents, caution me back to what I'm supposed to be doing. But now we have lost that. The society, what? See, people see that the phone
That's true. As one person cannot
it takes the whole village to raise a child. When you have individualized people, you destroy the society.
That's true.
That's the problem we're suffering from now. That man's child is my child. My child is your child. I'll raise my child the way I'll raise your child. I'll raise your child the way I'll raise mine. You do the same for me. That's how we preserve who we are.
Our identity.
Now imagine an individualized society where people are independent to do whatever they want to do on their social media.
Mm. Okay, that is what is causing the chaos that we are seeing
Complete
everywhere.
chaos and
Like,
confusion.
mm.
So now parents are confused. How do we have a grip of our children? So their parents too are also
They are not even training their children anymore. The children are now being trained, especially the Gen Zs. They are now being trained on the social media.
So what the parents are doing that, hey, okay, come allow go to mama guys. Okay, okay, come let me bring it back to the general language we use, English. Oh, let me allow this to fly. Let me see what result I'll get from it. Oh, it didn't give me a good result. Okay, it's not working. Let me look for another one. So you can't work yourself out by try and luck when it comes to developing a human being. Because the times you're trying to luck, that human being is having what they call an established characteristic. It's forming the characteristics while you're trying to luck. So the brain is in itself is getting used to. By the time you find how to solve this problem, the problem is bigger than you. Because the individual is not willing to be bent to do the right thing.
So technically, it's not the fault of the Gen Zs.
Yes, it's not actually directly the fault of the Gen Zs.
You see?
It's the work culture. We'll find the root cause of this whole problem from the work culture.
But then I'm a Christian, and we believe in train the child the way that the child will go.
Yes.
When he or she grows, he will not depart from it.
Yeah, our parents
And growing up, that was what actually kept me, because when I got into school and peer pressure started coming in, I saw myself derailing from the culture that my family had laid down for me. And then halfway into that new environment, I decided to caution myself. Why? Because the training that my parents gave me kept ringing in my head.
mm-hmm.
It kept ringing in my head. I could not stay in that environment for too long. Why? Because I was just thinking about my mother. I was like, if my mom would hear that I'm in this kind of environment, I'm behaving like this now, my mom would just die. You know, and I wasn't ready to be the reason behind my mom's death. If my father would hear that I'm associating with this kind of people and we are doing this kind of a thing in school environments, my father would just kill me. And so because of that, you know, that's at the back of my mind. I had already, that established culture was already there. So it was the guiding principle that brought me back and made me who I am today. And so where is that place of train the child the way the child will go when he or she grows? He will not depart from it.
Let me say something before he. This is very interesting. So I was talking to someone one time. I told the person that this is systematically controlled, right, to make the parents lose grip over their children. And the woke culture gave birth to what I call the work culture, survival. Now, now let me explain. When we were growing up as children, our parents were available to train us.
Oh. Oh.
Available, our parents had an eye on us, right?
Mm.
Now the work culture is controlled. They tweak it. So if you want to get the best of the life, work harder, work more time. So parents are doing overtime to give the children a good life and losing the moral upbringing of the children.
Mm.
So they're available to take care of their superficial need, not that they are psychological and moral needs.
Mm.
So the children, the society now raises the children to take care of the psychological and moral needs. And you know that the society is not interested in teaching you morals, because morals cannot be marketed. You can't make money out of morals or putting morals. You can't sell it.
Especially in the society today.
Yeah, you can't sell it. It's not marketable. So what they market to you is what it appeals to your emotions. So the children gets the money from the parents, and the society raises the children. Now that's why you find out that the parents lost grip of the children because of survival. They need to, give them the life. The inflations is also a systematic structure. Why are we having inflations? The inflations is so much. People are working too hard to be alive. So they are missing out on actually living. So they're actually breathing. They're actually struggling to breathe and not to actually trying to exist, not actually to live. Our parents had more quality of life way back. But over time, they were pressured into having to sacrifice that quality of life to just exist. So the children on the other side is now what? Does not have anyone to guide them. So they are the mercies of trial luck.
Mr. Frank.
Well, we cannot blame it all on the social media, even while we should be pointing the social media, because you choose what you see, you choose what you want to see, choose what you watch. I cited an example way back then, while I was serving. I had an encounter with a child, a parent, certain parent, a certain family, where I don't know what they were doing, but they were doing it right in the very before of the guy. And I would always say that whatsoever you don't do while your child is growing between the day you gave birth to that child to at least 7 years, forget about the training. He's gone and gone for good. I'm not really good with where you see tabs now. People buy tabs for their children at a tender age. I had one encounter in the market one of these days. I said to the woman, your son has not entered the university and he's using an iPhone. So when he now enters the university, of course, you buy him a car. So I didn't know the woman picked offense with what I had said. I just said it casually. You know, that woman followed me as I was going home and said, why would I even say that? Look at the way I insulted that. I said, how? How? Within me, I said to myself, though I didn't voice it, if they open that boy brain now, waiting day inside, you're buying phone, iPhone for him. I'm not disputing that. He was even about to write WAEC with an iPhone. So I told the woman that I don't have a problem with your son having an iPhone, but I believe it should be a process. There should be a process. There should be levels to what you ought to be doing. Not this way. That woman came to me and told me she has sold off that iPhone much weeks later. Well, that she sold it off. I said, you don't have to sell it off. She said, yeah, that she sold it off, that she understood what I was saying, but it was how I said, I didn't tell you in front of anybody. I didn't shout it either. So back to that of the experience of the people where I served. I don't know what led to, they were just talking, and maybe the mother had bent down to get something. And then the child came from behind the mother, started raising her clothes up, forcing himself close to the mother. You know the rest of the story. I don't want to start mentioning it. And then what can you make of that picture? How in God's name can you be doing that in front of that child? Thinking, he's still small. What does he know we're doing?
A child of what age?
That guy should be of about 1 year then, while I was 7, if not months. But it's this type that had walked on time. So he was walking, was on the bed. So all he needed was to stand up. As soon as the mother bent down, raised that clothes. Yes, the social media was open there, but it wasn't as rampant as it was. The family could even barely feed, have a 3 square decent meal to begin with, not to talk more of that. So sometimes the upbringing and whatever a child captures from this age I just mentioned, from 00 day, the day 1 that you gave birth to that child, to 7 years tops, whatever he or she captures is stored here. They have a magnetic brain that it's whilst they grow, those things begins to come into play. Gradually, you see them exhibit those things, and then you begin to ask yourself, where did they learn these things from?
But the problem is that it becomes difficult when someone has lost touch with what is good from what is bad.
That's why you have brain. God gave you brain. That's why you should
Common
have
sense is no
rules.
longer common.
Yes, but for them, the Gen Zs, it should be common because they seem to know it all. They are voicing a lot of things on the internet. They seem to know it all. So let that sense be common. You can tell yourself, this is not right now. Why should I be doing this? You can do that without anybody telling you that. Because ordinarily you know that thing is wrong. So why are you hell bent on doing something you already know is wrong, all in the name of Gen Z? What are you trying to voice? You're trying to voice garbage.
I think the Gen Z is all about not about moral rights. I think it's more about individual rights. You know, the right to be whoever they want to be.
But this thing that we are even talking about, that it's not just about the Gen Zs.
The
millennials themselves some of the millennials have the same challenge.
But I would also want to come in what you said concerning parents. And of course, they are not so 100% the issue. So is social media. Social media is not also 100% the issue. The thing is that there is a ripple effect. It touches everything. It's intertwined. When the parents do the bare minimum for the children, it shows. It shows in their character, it shows in their psychology. Okay, growing up, I was kind of bullied because I was a little girl. I was a smallish child growing up. And of course, I had brains. I still have the brains, of course. But growing up in a class full of big people, so to say, I was smallish and I was smart. So that became a challenge. And I was bullied. But I never thought of suicide. I never did. I never thought of doing something out of the ordinary. I could go back to talk to my parents, say, Mommy, see what's going on. This person bullied me. And my mom could come to school and talk to the principal. This is what is being done to my child. Do something about it. The principal calls the parents of this one and they talk about it. It might not solve the issue. It didn't solve it immediately anyway. But of course, that was the line at which the parents went. But right now, most children don't see their parents as influencers in their lives anymore. Most Gen Zs don't regard their parents as influencers or who has a say in their lives. They see their parents as one of those people. But if they are to face this kind of challenge that I faced, a lot of them have committed suicide. I'm not saying that that is the right thing to do. I'm not saying that their emotions were not valid. Of course, their emotions were valid. But what steps did they take? Now, availability of the parents, just like he said. How many times are these parents available to train these Gen Zs? How many times are they physically available, spiritually available? I remember growing up, every morning we were called up. It was a morning call to come and pray. It was a roll call. And in fact, we had turns to pray, each person, because that is a moment of training. It wasn't like daddy prayed, mommy prayed, we are all good. Mommy will pray, I will pray. It might be a few lines. Mommy can say, pray for my sales today. Your younger brother, pray for the food today. This person, that was a level of training. But how many parents currently have that time or do that? That is the spirituality of, we are Christians, and that is the spiritual training that we're talking about. It's not there. Most homes, they don't have it. And we're still blaming the Gen Z. How will they know if they are not taught? If we intentionally teach them, already they have an advantage. They have a voice and a very loud voice. Now, it's left for these parents, their parents, to take advantage of that voice and not doing a try and lock. Is not a, and there is no opportunity for rewind. I remember those cassettes then when we were growing up that you could actually rewind, you know. There is no opportunity for you to rewind and check the errors.
And it's difficult to unlearn something
Exactly.
that they have learned.
Exactly. So I think it's something that the parents are supposed to be hands-on. And of course, now most Gen Z, seeing what their parents are going through, they feel like, I don't want to struggle like my mom. I want to have an extravagant life. I want to live large. I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to suffer like my mother. I don't want to suffer like my dad. And of course, some ladies, Gen Z girls, baddies, as they are called, they don't want to go through some certain kind of stress. They feel that is stress.
So
But that is culture.
I'm going through those kind of processes. They rather engage in prostitution. They use their body to get
Well,
home.
not all of them.
What do you bring to the table?
Well,
Issues now.
This, what do you bring to the table? This question of what do you bring to the table has always been there. It has always been there. The only thing is that this generation Z made it loud and started puncturing those holes.
No, but
Because I'm coming.
Okay.
Listen, our mothers did the hard work. Some of them went to the farm, some of them were teachers, some of them were hairdressers, some of them were doing lots of jobs to support the man. I dare say that the woman is the table. I believe the woman is the table because this woman left her home, left her father's comforts, and is answering the man's name and is helping this man build this family that becomes their family. Do you get? But along the line, some of these men felt it was their right. It's a privilege to have your wife. But some men felt it was their right. So they could do anything they wanted to do to this woman and go scot-free. Some of them could batter the woman and still go scot-free. Some of them could hurt this woman and still go scot-free. Our mothers would tend to go back and pray. Our mothers would tend to go back to the elders to talk to, help me talk to my husband. My husband didn't eat my food, you know. But Gen Z, because they like the soft life, our mothers already used to work hard, get what you want, which they imbibe in millennials. So you see, most millennials right now, even though they are going through some things, there is this voice of a Gen Z in their head saying, you can actually leave this man. Do you get it? But they choose to stay. They choose to work it out, especially when if it has anything to do with battering the woman, I will support the woman to leave. But when it has to do with some certain characteristics, excesses, you would see the woman, our mothers, go back and pray, go back to talk to the elders. Just like he said, even as an adult, you are still a child to the society. Even as an adult, for us and our mothers, as long as there is still an elder above you, you are still a child to the society. So an elder can still caution your husband. But right now, most young baddies that are in marriages, they are not listening to anyone, not even their parents, because already they had lost the touch of the parental strong hand. They've lost it. So for a long time, they are not used to someone telling them, sit down. And that's the reason the only place that you can a little bit find it is in the church. And now they are attacking the church. That is the only place you can, at least to a large extent, a pastor can say, or your priest can say, husband, sit down. Why are you cheating on your wife? Stop it. That's not right. Your wife did not agree to a polygamous home. So why are you doing this? Because right now, most parents can't even do anything about it because they already have lost that right a long time ago. So the only place that you could obtain it is the church. And right now, there is an attack on the church.
And you are talking more like a feminist now. You know, the emphasis are more now on the women.
Well, I also looked at it in the perspective of the men as well. When I said men, most of them, they don't want to go and learn a long trade because some of them have heard their elder brothers went and they were not settled. So the guy came back after 9 years, after 10 years to start life from beginning. So they are like, okay, fine. If this is what it's going to take, I am not doing it. I'm not interested. I'd rather go and join a particular house where they learn some kind of thing and they do people, which is Yahoo. And at least within 1 year or two, they feel like they have something to show for it. And of course, some politicians also use these young guys for dubious works, use them for ill things, and pay them. So technically, the blame is not so much on this Gen Z. It's still on these parents and the society. So the culture lost its footing in the lives of these people. So you don't go straight ahead blaming them altogether. They are loud, yes. What can you do? They are loud. So tell them what to say with their loud voices.
Okay, I think okay, so you've spoken very well about part of the reasons the Gen Zs are the way they are today, the roles of the mothers and the millennials, why they behave the way they behave as well. But what do you think, in one word, what do you think we can do about it? What are the solutions to, especially the ones that are giving us challenge in the society today? Talking about the attitude of the Gen Zs.
Okay, one word. It will be difficult to use that in one word. When the government, Nigerian government to be specific, when they banned the former Twitter, which is now X, I laughed because I said these people are on an outburst, and you can't use your palm to breach the ocean. You must be crazy to think that. So the best you can do is to start from the roots, the parents, the society, what is acceptable as a norm. The regulations, the laws that you dish out, you made it, it looks like, I don't want to say they made it, but it looks as if it's made for the poor. So when you see a full-fledged man decides to identify as a woman, you clap, and his views, whatever, you don't ban his account. So where is the law? He's influencing the young ones. You don't ban his social media account because that is wrong, and the law in Nigeria says it's wrong. You don't, our culture at least says it's wrong. You don't ban the account. So what does the government do to stop it? Nothing. In fact, there are rumors allegedly that some of them go behind the curtains to have something to do with these young men. So this is still telling the Gen Z that what you're doing is good. It's just that don't be caught doing it, especially if you're poor and you don't have any connections. So on that aspect, the government has to come in and bring us back to our culture to say, as Africans, as Nigerians, we don't do this. It's wrong. It doesn't matter how much we like what comes from the Western, whatever, we don't do this. That's one. Two, now the parents needs to start addressing the children intentionally. The parents needs to be intentional in the lives of these children, because Igbo people say "Okorada akonye bukolia," meaning that a child doesn't get bigger than the parents. It doesn't matter how tall the child becomes eventually, even if your mother is 5'2", you are still not bigger than your mom. So the parents need to come in and intentionally be in the lives of these children. And then again, apart from being all focused on these grown ones, these younger ones are also watching. I'm not saying give up hope on these grown ones, because no hope is lost, but also give as much time, as much, be emotionally available, be spiritually available, bring them back to the training that we got as children, back to the training we got. Take them, get them out of social media for a brief moment. Have times for family time. Have times as family. Take out time from social media, electronics. Create family times. Go out there, see the world, touch trees. Ask them thought-provoking questions as parents. And don't just end it on who is following you on social media, how many views, how many this, who is your Instagram. Because right now, most of them take marriage advice from mad people on social media who claim are certified. Certified by who?
Okay, that's been a wonderful view, point. You talked about the government coming in with policies that will help, checkmate some of these things. Yes, I'm being very putting in laws and going after the laws. It doesn't matter who violated the laws, whether the rich or the poor. And then you talked about the parents and their roles in trying to checkmate that. That is a wonderful idea. Let's go to Errol. Errol, in one word, I told the vibes to use one word, and she took 10 minutes. So in one word, tell us, what do you think we can do to curb some of this Gen Z's negative actions?
Okay, thank you. I've always used one word. I have one word for this. What you said, asked. It's moderation.
Moderation.
That's the word, moderation. But if I could go further, could I?
Yeah, you can. But brief.
Yeah. She made a lot of points, from parental delinquency to the government failing in their own duties, and it's having the ripple effect on the society.
Yeah.
If you look at what the government sponsors, then you know that they are not for the well-being of the people. Look at our schools. Okay, well, the parents have lost their grip on the kids. What are the schools doing? The schools are intensifying the work culture right now.
Yeah.
The schools are promoting the work cultures right now, and the governments are funding it, are allowing it. It's part of even the school curriculum. So there's a problem. So, like I said, moderation. That's the way to move. The society have to decide the well-being of their children. The society by themselves have to do the job. They don't need the government. Have never in the history of humanity solved humanity's problem. So the society are the ones who have preserved and protected their identity by themselves, regardless of what it costs. Yeah, society, right? So we need to come back to our community lifestyle. Let the community raise their food, raise their children, and bring the laws that protects these two things that I just said now. The success it will give you will be mind-blowing. We will not talk about work culture in the next 10 years, 10, 20, 30 years from now. Once society decides to come into the game, it's over.
So how can the society come into the game?
Collective consciousness. The individuals need to find out, okay, the government are not helping, the schools are not helping, so what do we do? We'll help ourselves, that's all.
Which will be very difficult to coordinate.
No, it wouldn't. The voice, what's social media there for? If social media is that promotes and makes your voice loud, you can use it to bring it. Then that's maybe it's possible the government will want to ground that voice, right? But because she says terms and conditions of having a social media account, banning and all those things, you can organically pass a message to the people from the church, from the society, from your little clubs, from your one-on-one interaction.
And for that kind of a thing to start, there has to be a movement.
Yes, of course. Yes. Beyond the mic. That is why this podcast, I like the name Beyond the Mic. So we take this beyond the mic to the streets, to the corners, to your friends, to your associates. Tell them you're by yourself. That it's in your palm to save your future. That's all.
Nice one. Beyond the mic, we are already doing something. So you can see that we are actually creating a consciousness in that regard.
Yeah.
Mr. Frank, let's get to you. So what do you think in one word?
To be frank, once again, the parents has a lot to do. And if you're part of the parent that when your child comes back home and then the teacher maybe flogs her, and then you go to the school creating nuisance, and you try to stop, you work on yourself as regards that. You work on yourself as regards that. Because that your child could be exhibiting a very serious and dirty character in school that the teacher needs to correct there and then in the very before of others, thereby telling others that it's not going to work. That this particular thing this person did is wrong. The type of what we have with some parents now is you see your child, the teacher flogged, the child will come back and say, my teacher flogged me. And then you don't want to know what your teacher did. You go about the school ranting,
Like you don't want to know what the child did.
You're just raising. Why would you? Who is that teacher? Who gave you the impetus? The audacity is the steez for me. The word they are using now and all of that. Then first of all, you should have reprimanded your child for that. What did you do that led to the teacher flogging you? Then if by peradventure you want, what you need to do is to go calmly to the teacher. What really happened? Some would even go to the extent of telling the teacher, no matter what my child does, don't touch her. I pray that your daughter doesn't, or that your child doesn't do that on my own child, because I'll be the one to kick her. I will not even flog you. Because you can't come out and be giving such an order on a teacher for correcting your spoiled brat. And then the person that falls victim happens to be mine. Me and you will go mad for there.
Mm.
And with that, I will just simply say we have a long way to go. The parents should make sure you see that thing you don't want about your child. Stand by it. Tell your child that this is a no-no for me. If your daughter or your child has that upstairs, before he or she does that, he'll be like, Daddy would always frown. Just like I set an example, when you keep a phone and all that, you see, she will not go to your phone. She'll look at you. And Daddy says, within her mind, you'll be interconnecting with her. Daddy said, don't touch my phone. But when it is touch, you see her diving the touch. This one is the one I can do anything with. So with that, we really have a long way to go, and I pray God helps us to achieve that.
God will definitely help us if we help
Of
ourselves.
course.
With this, we have come to the end of this podcast. We are grateful to God for giving us these wonderful people in the studio. It's been a nice time with them, very insightful comments from them, views from them. It's been wonderful. We thank you very much. On behalf of myself and I and the people behind the camera, we say thank you to every one of you, Mr. Ariel,
Thank you.
Mr. Frank, Faye Vibes. It's nice having you today on this podcast. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you.
To our fans, please keep watching. Follow us if you are not following us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like at any point in time that you see our video, just hit the like button and make your comments. We want to hear your views on this topic that we've just treated today and some of the things that we have said here today. Please just tell us your view on the comment section. Let's know what you feel. If you have a solution too, tell us. We want to hear it. We're very interested in hearing it. And then in the next episode, just watch out for the next episode. We might be calling up your own, comments and your perspective. Who knows? It might be the one that will help solve the problem for the society. Thank you, and God bless everyone.